Hello and welcome back. Hopefully you can hear me well. We're going to start at the very beginning here. Since my last tutorial kind of skipped towards the end because of all kinds of complications. So the very beginning is actually a lot more important than you think. It's taking up the picture. And there's actually steps before this that I didn't want to go through with you guys because I can assume you guys got this. And now let me turn the volume down just a little. I have to keep this running in the background, otherwise my mics will die. There we go. So, oops, shit, wrong button. Usually I do my setup in Firestorm simply because it's easier to access everything. Let's see if we can close it in advance. There we go. But once you have your clothing, your outfit, your hair, one of the important things is for the best results in a picture, you want to think about your colors in advance, everything that goes together. Hold that thought. I think my fiance is coming in. Let's pause. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully this is back to recording. I think it is. Yeah, it is. All right. So this setup is actually pretty important once you get all your setups. So when you're picking your outfit and your hair and your skin or whatever it is you're taking a picture with, I actually go out and buy skin specifically for pictures. So to me, that's part of the dress up process. Your theme, your face, it all looks much, much better when it matches, when it goes together. So for instance, the outfit I'm wearing today, which is, let's find out what it is, in case you're curious. Clothing. Moon Elixir's Divine Temptation. Hard to find things to match the belleza body, which is also what I'm wearing right now, the belleza body and GENUS Head. Obviously GENUS Head because it's one of my favorites. So my first thing is going to be choosing the pose for whatever image I have in my mind. If I don't have an image, I just kind of flip through them until something sparks in my head. I tend to like to do story-themed pictures where they're telling a story and a little bit less of the fashion photography stuff. So my poses will usually be something in movement or similar to this, where it's almost like she's been caught. This is also, by the way, why many of my facial expressions in my pictures are fairly neutral, because I'm trying to tell a story, and in part of telling a story is you want the reader, or in the case of whoever's looking at your pictures, your viewer, to decide what the person feels. So in this one, I have something in mind, so I'm flipping through to find something standing. I used the, let's see, Ultimate Posestand. I also used Anypose. I think that's what I was looking for earlier. I keep things pretty organized in my inventory. It just helps. And this will help me tweak the pose once I find something close to what I want. I'll show you how to use that shortly. Let me find a decent looking pose. Theoretically, it would have been better if I had a pose ready for you guys, but I assumed you'd much rather watch the progress as it goes from beginning to end. So the concept I have in mind is somebody standing behind a flowing curtain and kind of peeking out. Almost a gilded cage type of deal. So I don't want her overly happy. Maybe contemplative, maybe sad. Let's see, are her eyes rolled up in her heads? No, they're down. That's good. So this has promise. So I think I may start with this. I chose this particular lingerie because I'm going to draw clothes on top of this, because the last lesson where I was trying to teach you guys how to draw clothes, it didn't work. And when drawing clothes, it's great to have a foundation. You can start with a nude body, you can start with a partially dressed body, you can even start with a fully dressed body. In this case, I want to do something kind of ethereal, long flowing gown, but I want it fantasy oriented. So I picked this corset, which has a very fantasy type feel to it. actually think it doesn't quite fit well. I think this goes into the skin. Yeah, even though it's belleza. I can fix that in Photoshop. So I'm going to start here. Generally speaking, I want to get the full body unless I'm directly going for a headshot. Now, I do have some lights floating. Let's pull back so we can see them. There they all are. All of these are my special lights that should be off right now anyway. Let's pull it over here so we can find it. This is going to help things like making sure I don't get shadows where I don't want them, or making shadows where I do want them. Yeah, see, he's on. See, there we go. See? I can create a shadow effect there, there. I don't need him on right now because I'm not working on the shadows yet. The first thing I'm going to work on is my, oh, what is that called? It'll show up here in a minute. Wind lights. There we go. Wind lights. I already have a wind light on here, though you can't see it. It was the last one I logged off on when I was doing a different photo. A friend of mine gave me a whole pack of wind lights, which was helpful. But if you want to find different wind lights, you can find them on various help things. For instance, I'm using Black Dragon Viewer. There is a Black Dragon Viewer Discord where people post things like where to get different wind lights and advice, questions, comments, that kind of thing. Next, it's kind of slightly boring because you're going to flip through all these and you're going to look at the type of look you're going for. Now, the wind lights are going to affect the background. I'm going with a very bland background right now because I'm actually going to try drawing a lot of her background, maybe morph a little bit of a different background there. So it's white right now and it's going to take up the environment effects. So what's going to control this background color is usually this over here. So if you see, think of this like a filter overlay. It's going to change that coloring. You can do that even after you've already chosen this. You can actually tweak your wind lights really fucking well, and we'll probably get there here shortly. So I kind of like this look, but I'm not overly keen on the coloring. So I'm going to swap the coloring out, particularly because I want it to kind of blend in with this. So I can do one of two things. I can take the side dropper and I can actually come over here and try to find that color. Doesn't look like it's helping. If I can't find it, that way I will start adjusting the background like this. Actually, I think it's closer to there. There we go. Now you see how that already made a pretty decent difference? Already it just blends better. So I can adjust this. Now you see how the light is blue? That's your sun color. So if I wanted to enhance this more, I might change the sun's color to something a little bit more helpful for what I'm going for. Lighter, darker. I'm gonna go medium-ish. Almost want orange without going yellow. The blue kind of looks nice too. The greenish blue. That sound you hear, by the way, is my vape. I do vape. Purple wouldn't be a good plan. Too purple, too blue. I think I definitely went in this tones. Pull that down to right out here. There. So as I shift this, you'll see the light is reflected of that color. I can adjust where it lands using these two buttons. So it's darker out. So what do you do if you like the setting, but it's in your picture's mind, it's a little bit darker out? I may actually want to switch it to blue. I should have gone and gotten the blue one. Oops, wrong button. There are two ways you can go in there and tweak that coloring even further. We have this over here. This is almost like a quick use. We're going to close that a little. And here we can find all kinds of different things that'll be very, very helpful. Resolution. I like to keep that up high. Where is it? Light and glow. So this is going to be glow if I had something glowing. This in the background, sometimes I can make that into a glow. To make that into a glow, as you see here, I can just like that. Bam, she has a glowing background. She can be very, you know, ethereal. And as you can see, I can control how much of the glow is coming in on her. I can make it to where it does that. So that's how that works. We're actually going to take that glow back out because I'm not looking for a glow right now. And it doesn't do much without something in the glow. This is a very good button. This prevents that flatness. So when you're moving in for a full body shot, you want to be somewhere around here. Let's say you wanted to move in and get rid of some of the side stuff. You push this in and then you use Alt and then left click to adjust. Alright, so now you have an idea of what I'm doing over here. I'm going to put that back. And I'm going to look at these shadows and see if we can make this a little bit more soft. See, I can turn this gamma right here a little bit brighter or less. That's not doing anything right now. This right here. So what I don't see a lot of things is the atmosphere can actually cause some hiccups in your backgrounds if you do it wrong. This atmosphere over here is going to cause basically a foggy-like effect. So when I put that blue density up really high, got really foggy. Drop it down, opposite of that. So this will help control it too. And you can actually change the colors of these as well. See how that color in the background's changing a little? So if I popped that up, my fog, as you see, has softened her further. Nice, right? So I'm actually going to go with a semi-high contrast. This is a more of a low contrast look. I'm going to take a picture in this. And I want her to be slightly sideways. One of the reasons why I like this is I can simply do this without having to find it and turn it. Now, probability of me actually using this specific pose for the picture is slim, but I'm going to take a picture of it anyway. And in the real world, photography actually is a crap ton of pictures, and you pick the one or two that works great for you. Best editing options. In this one, you're going to take a lot of the same pictures and a lot of the same pose. Simply because you're going to swap out your different presets, your sky presets, these over here. And then you can create a layering effect to erase, and I'll show you that later. It actually helps enhance the image without over-processing on the post-processing. I actually don't like this pose, so we're going to skip to the next one here. Definitely not that one. I get my poses from a variety of places, like everybody, I believe, which is one of the reasons you never see something that's saying, oh, when I do put these up on that blogish like thing, I don't usually put the pose, simply because I can never remember what pose it was. I just need to get close to what I want. Definitely don't want her sitting. Come on, lady, stand up. She's determined to stay down. I do have a stand where it's exclusively sitting poses, which helps. But sometimes I want access to simply all of them. Kind of like that. Yeah, I think that's the one I'm going to go for. So my angle is going to be partially next. Not overly keen on her head the way it's positioned with this hair. So now we're going to show you how I use Anypose. So Anypose, you have to click the live button first, puppet, and if you're not doing yourself, there's going to be other options for people nearby. I am puppeting myself, so I'm going to click myself, and I'm going to work on that head. See if I can adjust. And I can adjust that arm too. Now I'm on the neck. Put you back a little bit over there. A little bit more. We're going to tweak that arm. Right arm. Okay. No. Now the hand. I'm using the Belleza body, which has some unusual hand controls, which you'll see in a moment. Make sure this isn't, yeah. So I'm going to go into shape, and you see these hands options. Oh, come back. This doesn't give you the liberty to specifically change all of your fingers, kind of gives you options instead. So first I need to figure out which hand. Yeah, it's not that one. So no. That's a little better. Much better. Alright, so my hand is where I want it. I just need to shift this backwards a little. Up. Let's see, how's our shape over here? Not bad, not great, but not bad. Move her arm a little bit more that way. Pull it out a little more. I'm going to be having her opening a curtain, so she's mid-movement. Leg, left leg. No, forward please. Down. It's not bad. I can even turn her body a little bit my way. Is it this one? There we go. There we go. And now we're going to adjust her head again. Now, you only really want to look at the camera when you're trying to make a really big impact. In this case, I'm not trying to make a big impact. I almost want her to look like she's been caught. Hiding, sorta. Let's go back to this. Slightly tedious, huh? Trying to figure out specifically where you want it. Like that. Alright, so now remember those light bulbs? Control T. I keep them fairly invisible. Edit. Control T. So let's check to see if he's on. He's not. Oh wait, what is this? Oh, that's not the right ball. That's something else. You are, though. So I'm going to actually shift him over towards her face because I'm going to use it. Objects, features. So when I turn on this, boom, light. Oops. I have a little pet peeve when it comes to coming around in these. Now that's really fucking bright and not helpful. But do you see how when I move the light, the shadows on her face changes? If I want her face to have like a complete reduction of that, I'm going to put a light in front of her face and I'm going to throw that radius way down. I'm also going to up the fallout, which will soften it, and I can lower the intensity. So as you see, I removed a lot of those shadows that I don't want in this particular image. Her face is as ideal as it can be. Now, I'm going to start with a picture here. Now the bigger you take your picture, the better, but if you take it too big, you'll start to get these lines and hiccups. So we're going to go to snapshot now. You'll also notice I tend to keep these open and available so that I can find them easily. Okay, her feet's cut off. Let's try that again. Much better. Not a real fan of where that arm is. Let's see what happens if we twist her around like this. Better, much better. And now saving. So save to disk. And I keep this remember snapshot mode because sometimes that will change opening it or closing it. But not you have to do it every time you log in. I keep mine at 4500 on 4000 when I'm actually doing a picture I plan to edit, especially if I'm going to be doing a lot of drawing. Wait for it to adjust, and that is precisely what's going to look like when I save it. So, save as. You're going to pick a place in your inventory. I have sets I tend to keep everything really organized. It helps me. So I'm going to do a folder, and we're going to call this soft curtain. Alrighty. And this is where I'm going to save these. Now, here's where we get tedious again. Before I change anything else, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these different settings to try to find anything to layer. Now there will be times that I change these, sometimes I just take a really quick snapshot just to have that difference. And I will compare them as I go once I get to the stage where I am editing them. Now, there's actually a way to flip through these quickly, but I can never remember what it's called or how to do it. So this right here is a really high contrast type of image, and this is one where you're going to use more of those little balls of lights, and you can see why. We have a little too stark of shadows in too many places. And now I'm also going to show you what happens when I take that light and I remove it. Oops. So as you see, if I can just grab a hold of her here, those shadows are not ideal. Put it back. The lower you put this number here, the less it's going to touch other things. You see how it fades out on other things? And sticks straight at her face. So I can always copy this if I want that kind of repeat visual imagery. There's another one right there. Where'd it go? There it is. Control T. Too close together and you're going to get overlapping light. Too far and it's going to be kind of clunky. So I'm going to pull this down more and find the one near her leg. There it is. Control T. Figure out where it's going to be best for her. Move it away a little to soften it. I can even drop that more to make that leg in the background even darker. But while still giving just a little bit of light. I especially want it to hit that foot over there. You see that foot right there in the background? So it's not because it's too far away. voila, she's gently lit in a fairly shadow casting area. Now let's look at her. She softened up a lot. We have a little bit of an elbow issue. So I'm going to take this one since it's my lowest and put it up here near that elbow. Because I don't like that random darkness there. Soft light, on the other hand, very good for the image. Alright, Control T. And now we have a very softly lit image in a fairly stark and high contrast area. Now, the downside is I moved my camera a lot, so that first picture I took, I can't overlap these, which sucks. But it doesn't mean I can't use what I've got going on here. There we go. See? The pose is different angle, so I won't be able to layer them. That looks nice. I like this better. Now if I wanted to get like really tricky with this, I would come over here to drag in Preferences. Now, I'm going to shrink you again because I don't need you right now. What is the difference between this and this? Well, only a little bit. You actually, almost all of the things are the same. Hold that thought. Okay. So this is what I keep my general settings on. For normal, I keep my system memory up as high as I can so I don't have flickering textures, scene memory. But the higher you do this, the lower your, what is that, quality? Your ability to play and move around. Let's close that because I don't usually change that up. I keep all these very high. The things that I don't use often would be Second Life trees, so I keep that very low. Sometimes I'll keep the sky itself's quality low. As you see, I keep the avatar physics low because I'm not doing a lot of movement. I also keep the water low when I'm not using it. I'm up in a skybox, chances of me using the water, pretty slim to low. This will help minimize the issues that it can create with your computer while you're taking a picture. So rendering options. Always good to keep your draw distance fairly low. None of these really matter too much. The complexity here, I put that as high as I can because you will start to lose the different people in the photo the lower that is. They turn these random colors like blue or green. It's very frustrating. So in this case, I don't really mess with that very often. This, however, are nice wind light options. Do you remember that glow I showed you over here? That's right here as well. Now, let's shrink this thing over here so you can see what happens to the avatar as I change her luminance. Oh, that one's not going to work right now. I'm in the wrong one. This can actually change. It's usually directly impacted with glow and lights. So we're going to go, I think it's the next one down. No, these are important too. These are going to be your shadows. Where is it? This one right here, volumetric lighting and post-processing effects can also be very helpful. So for instance, if she's too saturated, you see how I can gray her out? I can actually take the picture in gray in world. Tone mapping, that's it. All right, so I actually use this a lot. And I'm so happy for these default buttons because it saves itself and you have to start back from the beginning. You definitely want to start from the beginning. So obviously we have these orangey tones to her and the background's going to be very whitish orange. I really wish I had this outfit in white. So I can up the red if I wanted, or rather lower it, sorry. When you lower it, you get more of that red. Green. Blue, or, yeah. So we're going to default, default, default. And this up here is going to do something slightly different. You have the filmic linear rendered custom. This is going to change the tones in this. So you see how I lightened her up here? Now when I drop it, then we go to that high contrast, high shadows world. That's how those people get those pictures where the shadows are coming in and eating away at somebody without losing the quality of the image itself. You can, for instance, okay, not gonna let me play with that, huh? Can go with custom. There we go. Now they're back. See, I can just like that. You see how it's eating away at her? And when I up this, it still maintains a lot of her. I'm gonna go to defaults. Go back to rendered because that's kind of where I like things. And come down here, and all of this right here is going to change coloring. All of it. Exposure. Never overdo if you're adjusting, just adjust a little. See how that toned her out a little, gave her more of a realistic look to her? So default, and then I'm just going to adjust this down just a little because I liked that. There we go. Alright, so those are the colorings I do and things that I can do to change my win light as I go. So I'm going to snapshot this. I'm going to see the slight differences. Often the differences are incredibly slight. Those slight differences are really good though. So I'm going to go back to preferences. And remember that tonal thing I was talking about? And that whole layering thing? Let's find it again. Here we are. When you want to do like a lot of shadows, but sometimes it can be really hard, you just take a picture of the avatar in a darker situation like this, and I'll show you how to use that in Photoshop in the next tutorial. One at a time, after all. So we're going to put that back up a little. Come up here. Now I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to start playing with where the sun's positioned to give my light differences. There we go. Slightly soft and shadowy appeal here. Really good for layering. Now if I want to get really creative with it, I'll show you in a minute if I come to a lighting that will benefit that. See, that is a matching background. This right here couldn't match better if it tried. This is what I mean by tying the colors in so that they match well together. Back to Skype presets. Thank you, love. And we're going to, so when we lower that distance, that fog makes it extra bright. Or without it, it makes it extra bright. I'm going to add a little bit more fog here. I'm going to switch where the sun's coming from. This one a little bit playing around on her. See, I may have to bump up the intensity of that because I messed up her face a little. Atmosphere. Ooh, there we go. Not a lot of shadows, but really good for what I have in mind. Now you notice I'm not moving my camera. This, by the way, is what I mean with how those can actually cause a slight hiccup. Because I do a lot of erasing too and cropping them out of that background, sometimes I don't bother too much. I save it anyway. But that actually comes from that gamma setting. I'll show you. That comes from this right here, this, these, and this. You get less of it when you pull that down, and less of it when you pull these down. So the less you have on these, for instance, let's take them all off, just for fun. Wait for the new shaft to load. See, all gone. So that's that causes that. But if you're good at editing, you should be able to get that out pretty well. And put that max altitude pretty high here. New snap. Save. This can take hours, by the way. Going through each piece over and over and adjusting it to get the different layers, different options. Obviously, if you've seen my work, you'll notice that I tend to favor this kind of look. Soft and foggy almost. See how I can get a shadow here? I can actually move that shadow towards right behind her even. I actually don't want it, but so we're going to adjust this so that it's gone. Ethereal look is our goal here. Now let's say you like the looks, you like the shadows, you like where these are going. You just come into your ambient thing here, and but you didn't like the color. You play around with what color would make you happier, fit what you're doing. That's the sun I'm messing with now. The darker you make the sun, the less bright and poppy it is. Let's check our max altitude. Distance. See, now I got a really high contrast version of that, and that's good. That'll be good for layering. Save. Go through one more. So I'm going to go through one more of these and show you me adjusting it. I actually like this, so I'm probably going to do this. And then I'm going to pause, and I'll pick back up with the next step. So again, I picked a wind light. I love the way the shadows work on this. So I'm actually going to take more than one picture with this exact same thing after I've tweaked it a couple times. Particularly because I want everything to match. So blue, not ideal. There we go, much better. Okay. The sun is good, don't want to touch that. Distance multiplier. So the max altitude changes how close you are to the sun or how close you're not. Lighting, scene gamma. There we go. I like that. New snap. Now I like that snapshot, but I feel like there's a little bit too much brown going on. So I'm going to go back to my preferences. I'm going to kind of work on adjusting that coloring back there. See, I can even add a little bit of sepia. I haven't figured out how this helps with anything, to be honest. Maybe it gives you just a little bit more of that grainy look. I really don't want a cam in to look because I'll lose where I'm at. Or I'll lose the pose, and I definitely don't want to do that. But I like the way it makes the skin look. So I'm going to leave it there for now. See, we have that again. Did you see that show up there? See all these really tiny changes, but they matter. Alright, I'm not really keen on this here, so I may just drop that down to nothing. Volume lighting, a lot of resolution. Go out of there, come back over here. Do you remember that thing with the view angle? So I can pull her in just a little bit. Oh shit, actually back out because we want it to match. I forgot about that. Snapshot. Let's hope it's right where it was. Yes, oh thank goodness. Alright, so that's how I take the pictures in here. I use the lights off and on. So there's like a light on this shoulder, or elbow, that I put here. Let's move you. He shouldn't even be on. Yeah. He's in our way. So as you see, the balls that I actually have that are on are 4 of them. Not him. He's off too. But he's the one causing that light there. So, as you see, gone, on. Now if I wanted to change the coloring, enhance that specific type of coloring I've got going on, I can click here, and I'm going to change the color of the actual light. See, the elbow turned pink, red, blue, yellow, and in this case we want it to be that soft orangey color. I hate trying to adjust these when I'm Control Alt T, snapshot again. See, I don't know if you could see it there, but there was a minor adjustment in the elbow and face area because of that one line. Alright, so now we're going to pause and I will pick back up shortly.